Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening to this. My name is Sudden Death, and you are listening to Quiet Storm Sports by way of the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Now, if this is your first time tuning into this channel, first of all, I want to say thank you for listening in. Here we talk sports, mainly NFL, mainly Baltimore Ravens. That's who we're a fan of. And when I say we, I mean me and my co host, Simply AS10. So welcome. Going to be talking sports on this podcast. This podcast right here, Quiet Storm Sports, is kind of new. This is only episode 2. So still trying to figure out the kinks, exactly what I want to do with it, but mainly want to use it as a platform to just get on here, get my thoughts off, and get the opinions of everybody watching, kind of chop it up with you guys, go back and forth. Shout out to the Rain Gang. Shout out to everybody tuning in right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe as well if you like this content and want more of it. So, a couple things I wanted to touch on today: Aaron Rodgers versus modern medicine. So, it's been speculated or reported that Aaron Rodgers is actually going to start playing football again soon, or at least he's practicing already. He's reportedly been seen spinning the football, right? He's already out there making throws. He's in pads, whatever. I don't know if he's in pads yet. I don't think he's in pads, but he's out there throwing a football. He's looking good while doing it. And they're trying to sell this narrative to us that it's possible that an Aaron Rodgers, a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, needs less than 3 months to recover from an Achilles injury when you have athletes that are in their 20s, right, in the prime shape of their life, who cannot recover from an Achilles injury in anything less than a year. Like, explain that to me. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. A 40-year-old quarterback who busted his Achilles 80 days ago, not even 90 days ago, 80 days ago, is all of a sudden ready to play football again. I don't believe that. And it makes no sense from the perspective of like if you're the Jets owner, his name is escaping me right now, but if you're the Jets owner, there's no way you're greenlighting this. Just absolutely no way. No way. I mean, the season is already over. I think the Jets have less than a 5% chance to make the playoffs at this point. What's the point? What is the point in trotting out an old 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers out there to potentially just get hurt again? Because it's not like, the dudes he's going to be going up against are just going to respect him so much because he's Aaron Rodgers and just kind of let him sit back there and throw the ball all over the field. No, they're going to come after him. They're going to come after him. He's going to get tackled. Dare I say maliciously. Uh, it's a dangerous sport, guys. I don't see the logic. I'm a very logical guy, right? I don't see the logic in putting an Aaron Rodgers back out on the field, uh, you know, 80 days removed from an Achilles tear. That just does not make any sense to me. And, I saw this tweet a couple of days ago. And it was talking about this theory about how Aaron Rodgers, he's really not 100%, obviously, not even 80%, probably not even like 70%, to be honest with you. But they were saying that he wants to prove a point that he can beat modern medicine. Like he can defy the odds of these injuries. And with all the doctors and everybody else, players who got injured with the same injury in the past are telling him, hey man, you're gonna have to rehab this thing for at least X amount of months, sit out for the year, yada yada yada. He's saying F all that. He's trying to push back on the whole vaccine thing back when COVID was, really, really running things, right? We saw that Aaron Rodgers pushed back against the vaccine. He was very open about his disdain for the vaccine. And now he's got an injury. Everybody's telling him, hey, look, the medicine, the science tells you this. He wants to go in a different direction. And a lot of people are saying it is for, clout. People think that Aaron Rodgers is an attention-seeking whore, which is, I've never tried to damn him with that title. But the more and more that comes out about this guy, I kind of believe it. I kind of believe it. Reason being is because, I mean, just what's the point? If you're Aaron Rodgers and you're 40 years old, other than attention that you're going to get from this news, like what is the point of trying to put your 40-year-old body back on the line when it's clearly not ready? It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense, but we know that Aaron Rodgers is probably the type of guy who wants to prove a point. I saw something very interesting from one Colin Cowherd, maybe about a year ago. He had a take, and if any of you guys have listened to Colin Cowherd before, you know his takes are filled with analogies, metaphors, and he does a good job at relating things to real life, at least most of the time. Now, he made an observation about Aaron Rodgers, like I said, about a year ago on his show, basically making the argument that since Aaron Rodgers is still kind of in his bachelor phase, he doesn't have a wife, no kids, he's still kind of in that, I guess you could say, sort of rock star mentality, right? Like, it's all about Aaron. He can do what he wants, when he wants, because he wants to, because he's Aaron Rodgers. There is nobody in his life to be in his corner saying, hey, I think you should go in this direction, or hey, this is probably best for your family, or hey, like, your health is at risk. Like, don't be stupid right now. Nobody's in his ear saying that sort of stuff. Right? Nobody. So, with that being said, it kind of makes sense to me. It kind of makes sense to me why he wants to be the center of attention, go on Pat McAfee once a week, talk to him, talk to the media, go on these darkness retreats. Alex was telling me something about he likes to listen to whales have sex or something like that. Super, super weird stuff. Very eccentric guy Aaron Rodgers is, to say the least. But, again, it all goes back to the point. There is no point in him coming back this season. And if he does come back this season and he gets hurt again, I don't want to be the guy sitting here and saying, I told you so, but kind of told you so. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. It doesn't compute with me. The only explanation that makes any sort of remote sense is that he's doing it for attention. Okay. Wanted to touch on that. Make sure you guys get in the comments, right? Get in the chat room. If you're listening in right now, I see we got about 10 people watching live. Make sure you say what's up in the chat. I love to hear from y'all. And I want to know what you guys think about the whole Aaron Rodgers situation as well, because it's just ludicrous to me. It's absolutely fucking bonkers. The majority of the listeners from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel are here for Baltimore Ravens talk. So I do want to kind of touch on one little piece of information that has come out in the past couple of days. Obviously, Ravens don't have a game this week. It is the bye week. Finally, our guys have some time to rest and recover before this brutal stretch coming up. I think we've got the Rams coming up next, and then the Jags, and then the 49ers, Dolphins. We got the Steelers again. It's a rough stretch coming up. Very rough stretch. However, there was some news that came out yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, about Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, as you guys know, used to be the star featured tight end for the Eagles back in the Carson Wentz era, and Carson Wentz was really good for the Eagles. He was with the Cardinals up until earlier this week. The Cardinals released him, and there's been a lot of speculation about where he ends up next. Zach Ertz still got some good football left in him. At least I think. He's had a couple of injuries in the past, but I still think he's got some good football left, right? I mean, I think he had like 20-something catches this season. Nothing too crazy. The Cardinals were a dumpster fire, especially earlier in the season. Arguably still are now, but they got Kyler back. But they let go of Zach Ertz, and the speculation and the rumors have been that Zach Ertz is rumored to go to either the Baltimore Eagles, Baltimore Ravens, or the Philadelphia Eagles. One of the two. And, me personally, when I heard that news, I was just kind of like, well, it doesn't make any sense for Zach Ertz to come to Baltimore over Philly for a couple reasons, right? I mean, not Carson Wentz, but Zach Ertz, he played in Philly. obviously. So he's already familiar with the team. He's familiar with the organization, some of the players there, right? Just kind of how they do things, how they operate. Plus, second reason, the Eagles are the best team in football. So it's literally a no-brainer. If I'm Zach Ertz, it's a no-brainer. I'm not even thinking about the Ravens. The only way I'm thinking about the Ravens is if the Eagles lowball the hell out of me to the point where it is absolutely, positively disrespectful. That's the only way I'm looking in the Ravens' directions. Because why would I pass up the best team in football that I've already been on before? I have history with this team. Currently, they're the best team in football. Why not just go there? Probably, of course, they're going to make the playoffs, probably make the Super Bowl. Don't know if they'll win the Super Bowl. Hopefully, it's the Ravens in the Super Bowl and they win it. But it's just a no-brainer if you're Zach Ertz. Doesn't make any sense at all to go to Baltimore. That's just me. Would I love him here in the absence of Mark Andrews? Yeah, sure. I would. But, fact of the matter is he's not here, So I don't think Zach Ertz is coming aboard. I think that we stick with Isaiah Likely. Love what I've been seeing from Isaiah Likely. I think I talked about it on the last pod. That dude's a baller. If we can build his confidence, get him more catches, early in games, kind of really get him involved and make him truly feel like he is a big part of this offense, a catalyst, in this offense. That's important. He can be really good for us. He can be really good. Now, he doesn't give you the same, excuse me. He does not give you the same physicality that a Mark Andrews would offer. But he does give you, he can still block. He's kind of creative with his blocking too, especially out in space. If you've ever watched Isaiah Likely block out in space, he's very good at not getting blocked in the back, right? Like he does this thing where he puts his hands up like, hey, not on me, like it's clean block, and just kind of puts his body in the way of a guy. Ends up being a perfect block. I love it. But yeah, just a lot of good things that I see from Isaiah Likely that could bode well for our offense going forward. I mean, he's got speed, he's got agility, quickness, man. I mean, I can't say he's the complete package, but he is a weapon. He is a bona fide weapon in this offense, and we need to get him more involved. Why? Because defenses need to respect him. They need to game plan. They need to have to game plan for an Isaiah Likely. They need to know where number 80 is on the field. Why? Because that opens up opportunities for everyone else in this offense. So I'm looking at Zay Flowers. I'm looking at Odell Beckham Jr. I'm looking at Rashad Bateman. Hell, I'm looking at Nelson Aguilar. All those guys will have opportunities opened up for them if we can get Isaiah Likely more involved. Because right now, defenses, and not to say it like this, but there was a big sigh of relief from a lot of defensive coordinators when Mark Andrews went down. Can y'all agree with that? There was a collective sigh of relief when Mark Andrews went down with that fibula injury on that was a Sunday night game a couple weeks ago, because other teams know how we like to utilize Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is the security blanket and always has been for Lamar Jackson. So teams would literally have to game plan for big number 89. Okay, where is he at on the field? What personnel are they in? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? What type of routes is he going to run? Are we going to bracket him this way? What are we going to do to stop Mark Andrews? And now that he's not there anymore, it takes a lot of pressure off of defensive coordinators, because they can kind of say, okay, now we can key in on these slants by Odell Beckham Jr., or now we can key in on these screens to Zay Flowers. That's what they're thinking now. So we have to, and by we, I mean Todd Monken, talking to Todd here, right? Money Monken, he's got to drop some plays for Isaiah Likely so defensive coordinators can go, well, there's no more Mark Andrews, but obviously this guy is going to be a focal point in their offense. So let's maybe reallocate some of our resources on defense to try to stop this guy. And as soon as you do that, we go to Zay Flowers, we go to Odell Beckham Jr. You guys remember the touchdown celebration between Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown a couple years back, the rock, paper, scissors, like kind of like pick your poison sort of thing? Yeah, that's what we have to get back to. Especially in the absence of a Mark Andrews. Let me see. Justin Roberts in here says he might feel some self-made internal pressure about just signing a big contract in New York media market, making appearances at different venues. His agent might be feeding him aspirations. Uh, I don't buy that. I don't buy that, Justin, because if Aaron Rodgers doesn't really strike me as the type of guy who is going to he, he he strikes me as more of like an FU type of guy, not like I'm going to try to appease everyone. I'm going to try to make everybody happy in New York. I don't think he really cares about that. I think Aaron wants to make Aaron happy, and I think he loves playing football. So yeah, he obviously wants to be back on the field, but to say that there's some self-made internal pressure about getting a big contract and not wanting to let New York down. I mean, New York's already let down. I mean, like I said, there's only maybe about a 5% chance of them making the playoffs at this point, the Jets. I mean, the Jets are already let down, just like they always are. So I don't really know what him getting back on the field would do. I don't think it would be a moral victory of any sort for anybody, right? Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. So, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. MDT Sports says, would you sign Ertz? I mean, yeah, given the opportunity, I probably would. Only because tight ends is the one position that is kind of surefire to get their targets and to get their opportunities. Because, like I said, we already know how Lamar Jackson feels about his tight ends. They are his security blanket. I mean, you guys saw it last week. No Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely gets 3-4 catches. And I expect that to go up. Okay, I really do. I really expect that to go up. But yeah, I would sign Ertz though. I would sign Ertz. I think he does bring back a little bit more of that physicality. He's more of a Mark Andrews archetype of tight end as opposed to Isaiah Likely. And for the right price, I think that would be a good deal. I do. I do. Now, do I think we would sign Zach Ertz? No, I don't. I don't think it's gonna happen, guys. I don't think that DaCosta and those boys are really trying to like scrounge up all their chips together to get a Zach Ertz, especially not at this point in the season. And do I think we need him? Like, absolutely, positively need? No. Would I sign him? Yeah. The fan in me is saying yes. Like, let's get all the help that we can get. Let's gear up to go win a Super Bowl. But do we absolutely need him? No. What we need is for Isaiah Likely to step up. That's what I think. Justin Roberts says, agreed, but I think the business side and him creating a brand in that market is legit. Think about Wisconsin. Yeah, I mean, Justin, I just don't think that Aaron Rodgers is too concerned about building a brand at 40 years old with the New York Jets. I don't think that he's you know, I just think that Aaron Rodgers wanted to break up with the Packers. It was like, a stale relationship, right? A stale relationship where shit's just kind of like on autopilot after a while. There's between Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay. And both sides kind of had their times where it seemed like they were gonna pull away, right? When the Packers drafted Jordan Love out of the blue. You guys remember that? Um, Aaron Rodgers speculating that he wanted to, be traded or go somewhere else. And then it finally came to fruition. I just think he wanted to go somewhere else, kind of get a fresh start, new scenery. But the whole getting out on the football thing 3 months after, you tear your Achilles, I don't think he's serious about actually stepping out and getting actual starting reps for the Jets this season. Like, it's not feasible, man. It's just not feasible. Um, Yeah, and creating a brand. Now, see, for me, like if I'm Aaron Rodgers, like, bro, you don't have to play football to create a brand. You don't have to. Like at this point in your career, you have a big enough name to where you can go off and you can do something else to create a quote unquote brand for yourself. We saw what he tried to do with Jeopardy, right? He was the host for Jeopardy for a little while. I think it was the summer before last, I want to say. Yeah. So he does want to build a brand. You're right, but I think that is building that brand by stepping out on the football field 90 days after tearing his Achilles, then I think he's going about it the wrong way. I think he's going about it the wrong way. Aaron Rodgers could easily retire from football right now, start his own reality TV show about whatever, and it would air on Fox and it would do just fine. He's got the connections. He's got the ability to do that sort of thing. So if he really does truly want to build a brand, there you go. There's your brand. You could do something like that. See, MDT Sports, I think likely is good. I like him a lot, but I think Monken not using him the right way. We'll see. I mean, we really just haven't seen enough, We really haven't seen enough of him yet. We got to see more in this, 2, 3, 4 game stretch that's coming up. That's like grueling, like just absolutely brutal. We're going to need him to step up, right? We're going to need that speed. We're going to need that ability to make the first guy miss. We're going to need that. We're going to need all that, crazy stuff. I like Likely too. I think that, coming out of Coastal Carolina, we all, kind of liked him. Even in the preseason of his rookie season, he was showing flashes already. Last year, I'll always reference his regular season game against the Buccaneers. Last year, he was really good in that game. Had a touchdown. Really helped Lamar and the Ravens get to a victory that night. And I believe he can do it again. Now, let's talk about the running game a little bit, guys. Can we do that? Running game. What do we want to see next game out of the run? So do we want to see a more balanced attack between Keaton Mitchell, Gus Edwards? Should we be giving the ball to Gus Edwards more? Should we be giving the ball to Keaton Mitchell more? Obviously, a lot of these answers depends on the context of the game, I would say. But, I'm a Keaton Mitchell guy. I am a Keaton Mitchell truther, And I feel like as Keaton Mitchell gets more worked into this offense, we're going to start seeing some of those breakout runs again. Because I said it before, when he first burst onto the scene, teams weren't really knowing what to expect. Then once teams kind of caught on and say, oh, this kid is really good, we got to kind of key in on him. When 34 is on the field, we know he's getting the ball. So they started keying on him, started trying to shut down the big runs. And now here we are. I think that once they start getting him more, like I said, more baked into this offense, and he's in on different types of plays, maybe where he's not necessarily getting the ball, maybe he's pass protecting or whatever, that will confuse defenses and then allow him to get those big runs again, because they're going to start running different coverages. They're not going to try to key in on him every time he's on the field because they don't know what's coming. We just kind of got to just work him into the offense just a little bit more than we already have, because that kid's special. And where I can see him being very, very special for us is in the playoffs. Kid's got a ton of tread on his tires. You saw those big runs he was breaking off. He's got a lot of those left in the tank. He's got a lot of those big runs in the tank, people. Keaton Mitchell, I'm talking about here. Once the Ravens and Todd Monken get him more, baked into this offense, blended into this offense, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be scary hours for the rest of the league. Now, flipping, let's keep talking about the run game. Let's talk about the defense defending the run. That is going to be crucial. Defense, man, there's been some games this year where stopping the run just was not our thing. Cardinals game, Steelers game, Cardinals game, Browns game. Who else kind of ran really well on us? Titans, Derrick Henry. Yeah, we got to plug up the run, man. We got to plug up the run. We've been okay at it, but not as good. Not good enough for my liking, man. Not good enough for my liking. See what y'all are saying. Justin Roberts says, definitely think we, the Ravens, are set 100%. Our biggest problem is O-line. The last game is the perfect example. Yeah, O-line. and me and Alex talked about this on Monday. It's an issue. O-line is an issue. We can officially say that. Um, Ronnie Stanley, it's really sad, his situation, because he is the highest paid player on that offensive line by far, and he's not being the anchor that we used to know him to be. Now, I don't know if it's the injury or what, but when you see Ronnie Stanley consistently get bull rushed into Lamar Jackson to the point where like he's damn near stepping on Lamar Jackson's ankles and heels, just trying to do whatever he can to keep this guy in front of him. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. And people are starting to pick up on it and notice that this guy's getting dominated in certain spots. Our tackles will play like trash. Yeah, Justin. I mean, Morgan Moses got beat a couple times in that Chargers game by Khalil Mack. And yes, I get it's Khalil Mack. But we can't have that, especially in the playoffs, man. Especially in the playoffs, man. There's a lot of good defenses that will be in the playoffs in the AFC this year. I mean, just talking about the Chiefs. The Chiefs, man, they're known for their offense, but their defense has low-key been playing better than their offense this year. Arguably. That's why they're still they're 8-3. Because their defense has been so good. Getting pressure. Things like that. We have to protect Lamar Jackson, man. We stand no chance. We stand no chance if we don't protect Lamar Jackson. And I know that Lamar has his heroics, and when things break down, he can still make something happen, but that is not sustainable, people. I'm here to tell you that. It is not a sustainable style of play. Like, hero ball does not work consistently. It works sometimes, and when it does work, it's awesome. It's amazing. It looks great, but it does not always work out. You need protection. You need to be able to sit back there as a quarterback, go through your progressions, and make a good read and make a throw. You have to have that. It's just as simple as that. Moses is so bad, man. I'm really more disappointed in Stanley. And like I said, I don't know if he's dealing with the injury or what it is, but you're all pro star left $100 million left tackle. Nah, man. We can't have you getting beat, Stanley. We can't have that. Nope. We can't have that. Lamar can't have it. It just won't work. Let me see. I hate to say something, but offensive tackle are soft. Yeah. Diapino the fourth. What's going on, bro? Says, so we draft an offensive tackle in the first round. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about 13 weeks into this NFL season. What do we think the biggest need in the upcoming draft is for the Ravens? O-line is a big one. O-line's a big one. We draft offensive tackle in the first round. I can get behind that, honestly. I mean, you just paid Lamar Jackson, what was it, $240-something million? You got to protect the kid. And I know we have Andrew Voorhees, who's going to be coming off of that leg injury probably next season. So we'll see what he has to offer. But nah, man, we got to keep swinging at offensive tackle. We have to. We got to get a guy in there who is surefire, who we can just kind of set it and forget it. That's what I like to think of with positions like O-line and cornerback. I want to put my players in that position, set them there, and forget about it. I don't want to hear from them, because if I don't hear from them, that means they're playing well. You know who I don't really hear from all that much? Tyler Linderbaum. You know who I don't really hear from all that much? Marlon Humphrey, Kevin Zeitler. Hell, even John Simpson has been doing a pretty good job, if you ask me. But offensive tackle, left tackle to be specific, we're going to need to go to the drawing board on that one. especially if Stanley does not have a late season resurgence where he is just absolutely dominating, then yeah, we're gonna have to start a dialogue. My Charles Barkley voice. I don't even want to, man. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. I don't know if he's going to have to. I mean, because he's gonna have to block Nick Bosa coming up soon here, I believe. He normally doesn't have to block T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt lines up over the right side, so he'll be blocked by Morgan Moses. But I mean, there's still some stout challenges coming up for Ronnie Stanley. So these next couple of games will be very, 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 very interesting to see exactly how he performs. Because if he doesn't play well, man, we might got to do something with that contract. We might got to move him. We might got to move him. Simple as that. Lamar Jackson's getting older, and give Mike McDonald an offer he can't refuse. Oh yeah, we got to hold on to Mike. Mikey M, we got to keep him. We got to keep Mikey M. Can't let him go. Nope. He needs to be a Raven for the foreseeable future. Yep. I mean, this is a guy who he's like Wink without the excessive blitzing. He's the boomer bust without a lot of the bust. The last time I saw this defense really bust was against the Dolphins last season. You guys know the game I'm talking about, where Tua threw for like 5-6 touchdowns or something like that, and 400, 500 yards, some shit like that. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle absolutely killed us, destroyed us. I'm talking about that game. That was the last game I've seen, our defense really be a bust like that. And that was mainly because, I mean, we had a lot of rookies in the game. Jalen Armour Davis and Kyle Hamilton were both rookies at the time. And, they got a couple of times. But ever since then, Mike McDonald has been on an absolute tear. Dare I say the best defensive coordinator in the National Football League. And if you don't believe me, look at the numbers going back to last season. Look at the points per game allowed by the Ravens. It is rare that a team scores over 20 points on us. It's very rare. And that's amazing. I think the Ravens are letting up about 15.6 points per game this season so far, which is crazy. Which is crazy to think about. If this offense could just get to the same level that the defense is at in terms of production, oh my goodness. It would be crazy, man. It would be crazy. I mean, I think the offense is maybe 20th in points per game or something like that. Maybe a little bit higher than that. But man, if we could just be top 10 in scoring, right? And then top 10 in points per game allowed and just do that consistently, I don't see why we wouldn't win a Super Bowl. And that's what's kind of frustrating about this Ravens team, is that the defense is so damn good. And we have a quarterback who's so damn good. So it's like, what's the problem? Great defense plus great quarterback, good run game, pieces on offense. What's the problem? We got to score more points. We got to trade these field goals for touchdowns. We gotta run the ball more effectively. I thought that in the Chargers game, they were shutting down the run a lot, especially early on. It wasn't until second half when Keaton Mitchell started to get some good carries in, if I remember correctly. Let me see. MDT Sports says, how is Lamar getting older? He's only 26. Yeah, I mean, he'll be 27 next month, though. Lamar will be 27 next month. He is low-key getting a little bit older. If you watch Lamar Jackson play, I've watched every single Lamar Jackson play ever, because I've seen every single Lamar Jackson game, at least with the Ravens. And there's a clear difference between how he moves now and how he moved then. Like back in 2018, 2019, dudes were not even thinking of touching Lamar Jackson in the open field. Lamar would not even let that happen. He wouldn't even let defenders think about touching him in the open field. Excuse me. It was just that automatic for him to juke a guy, make a guy miss, run around a guy. Like, Nowadays, he doesn't really have that same agility, nor does he have that same top end speed. He's slowed down just a little bit. He has. I can admit that. He has slowed down just a little bit in terms of his athleticism. So he is getting older. I can definitely say he is getting older. Mike Mack, easily the best defensive coordinator in the league. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Let me talk about Odell Beckham Jr. I want to touch on OBJ because a lot of people I've been seeing in national sports media are kind of starting to realize that Odell is starting to come on. He's getting 3-4 catches a game. A couple games ago, he had over 100 yards receiving, had a big touchdown in the last one of the last couple games. What are y'all thoughts? How are y'all feeling about Odell Beckham Jr.? Like, should he be wide receiver one, or should it be Zay Flowers? Like, who should really take that spot? Because Zay Flowers doesn't strike me as a wide receiver one. Like, you can go to him in any scenario, just throw it to him. He's got it. Wide receiver one to me is what we saw last night in the Cowboys and Seahawks game. CeeDee Lamb or DK Metcalf. Those are wide receiver ones. Okay, those are wide receiver ones. Zay Flowers, not to say he can never be a one, but to me, when I think of a wide receiver one, I think of big body, big catch radius, also has speed. So you really have to be able to put all the factors together. And Zay Flowers, I mean, he's missing the physicality and the size. He's got everything else. He's got the route running, he's got the speed, he's got the quickness, football IQ, whatever. But the sheer physicality and the size is something that he's lacking, what I believe needs to be in a number one receiver. Now, Odell Beckham Jr., he's got some pretty deceptive speed, some pretty sneaky speed, especially for his age. He's got some pretty decent size, not anything too crazy, but he's got some pretty decent size. But the problem is he's older and he's also injury prone, and that's just something we've seen throughout his career. So I don't really want to deem him as a legit number one wide receiver either, because I don't think of Odell Beckham Jr. as a guy who, again, let's say it's January, 1 p.m. CBS on a Sunday. It's a playoff game, wild card weekend. I don't see announcers really expecting Odell Beckham Jr. to really get the ball. I don't really see him. It's kind of hard to explain, man. I just don't really see him being the marquee receiver in this offense. I don't see that. Because it doesn't feel like, first of all, it doesn't feel like Odell Beckham Jr. is a Raven to me. And that might sound like a hot take, but it really sounds like if we were ever getting a rental, it's this. Like, it's now. Odell Beckham Jr. is a rental. Odell Beckham Jr. knows why he is here, to try to help this team win. You can even hear it in his speech when he talks. Not to say he doesn't want to be a Raven, he doesn't want to be here or anything like that, but you can tell, like, he's not like a legacy Raven. He's not like a homegrown Raven. He's not somebody who's going to be around for years to come. He's like, oh, I'm here, right now. I'm going to help this team win a Super Bowl. That's also not a one to me. A one, I need to have some sort of stability. Like, either we drafted you or we traded for you and we plan on keeping you for a while. Odell Beckham Jr. is kind of like a wild card. We don't know what he's going to do next season. We just don't know. Let me see what else you guys are saying in here. We really don't have a wide receiver one, says Yolanda. What's going on, Yolanda? Appreciate you for coming through. Yeah, I agree. We really don't have a legit wide receiver one right now. And you can argue that we have not had one for when is the last time the Ravens had a legit bona fide wide receiver one? I mean, was it Anquan Bolden? Like, bona fide wide receiver one. Some people would say, oh, Hollywood was here. Now, like I just told you guys, to me at least, and these are my opinions here on Quiet Storm Sports, I don't think that guys of that, archetype of receiver, I don't see them right? I don't see them as wide receiver ones. I just don't. Because, game on the line, one on one, who am I throwing the ball to? I want a big body target, somebody who has a big catch radius, who can make the quarterback right even when the quarterback is wrong, even when the quarterback is slightly off. He can make up for it. We see guys like DK Metcalf be able to do that. We saw DeAndre Hopkins do some of those things in his career. Odell Beckham Jr., when he was a little bit younger and had more spring in his step, right? He was able to do some of those things. But the Ravens really have not had that type of guy in a long time. In a long time. MDT Sports says we don't have a wide receiver one, but we just got a solid wide receiver. Yeah, we got solid wide receivers, and Lamar Jackson makes it work with those solid wide receivers. But can you imagine if he had just think about a DK Metcalf, who we had an opportunity to go after. Just think about if we had like a DK Metcalf, what that would do for Lamar Jackson. Excuse me again. What that would do for Lamar Jackson. Imagine like a Mark Andrews, but in a wide receiver body with wide receiver speed. What would Lamar Jackson do with that? I don't even want to. I can't even begin to conceptualize what that would look like, because it's just gonna make me mad. That's all it's gonna do. It's just gonna piss me off, because I know what could have been. Not to say that I hate our wide receivers, but me personally, this is just for me personally, I prefer a big body wide receiver, big catch radius, go up and get it. That's who I want. That's who I want. Thankful for Zay Flowers. I am. Trust me, I am. I love the draft pick still to this day. But I would love that for Lamar Jackson to have that archetype of receiver, which I would deem a wide receiver one. All right, let me see. Zay Flowers reminds me of AB, and I can't go that far. AB was different, man. AB was not a big body wide receiver, but he had that dog, bro. He was that wide receiver one archetype even without the size, because he had the catch radius. And the catch radius is the most important thing. I mean, I want the bigger guys because they have a higher catch radius. They have a bigger catch radius. But AB had that even without the size, so when you talk about the complete package when it comes to a wide receiver, that's what Antonio Brown truly was. I don't think Zay Flowers is that. I don't. Okay. All right. Let's see what y'all are saying here. Likely, if I only could, so I plant the ball. AJ Brown, yeah. MDT Sports brings up an AJ Brown. That's another good example of guys that I'm talking about here, right? Like AJ Brown, what he was able to do for Jalen Hurts. I mean, man, it just hurts me, man. It hurts me, no pun intended. It hurts because what could have been? What could have been, right? Justin Roberts says wide receiver one has to be able to separate and go up and get it. Yes. See, like Justin gets it. Not only do you have to be able to separate, you got to be able to go up and get it. I don't care who's around, what's going on, what time of day it is, what color shoes the other defenders want. It doesn't matter. You need to go up and get that football. And we've seen guys in the history of this game be able to do that. And it frustrates me that the Ravens have not been able to get a guy like that. And the last time we did have a guy like that legitimately was Anquan Bolden. Been watching this team for a long time, and I can almost objectively say that was the last time that the Ravens had a bona fide number one wide receiver, Anquan Bolden. Let me see. Justin Roberts says, I've seen Bateman and Odell leave Lamar Jackson out to dry a couple times. Yeah. One could say that game against the Steelers, I want to say. Game against the Steelers, when he throws up that fade route on the end zone, Odell didn't really try to defend it. It was a bad ball, and Odell pretty much automatically had to turn into a DB if he wanted to make that work. He didn't. Maybe he didn't expect the ball to be that bad. I don't know. Then Rashad Bateman a couple weeks ago, I think it was in the Browns game, kind of gave up on a route, or didn't get his head around in time. And, as a receiver, you got to get that head around. You got to get that head around. You got to be expecting the ball. You got to be ready and willing. Let me see. Don Royal says, "Where is our CeeDee Lamb? Bateman supposed to be him." Yeah, let's talk about Bateman, guys. Let's talk about Rashad Bateman. Since we're talking about all the receivers, let's talk about Rashad Bateman. So Bateman is a guy where if you follow me on Twitter, I always place bets on Rashad Bateman because Vegas and the national media, they really don't know about this kid. They really don't know. So you can go on like FanDuel or something like that, and you can find a line for Rashad Bateman at plus money to get 25 yards receiving or to get 3 catches. And he doesn't always get it, but I believe that I'll take Bateman to get those numbers. So what, 2-3 catches and 25 yards? I take him to get that 60% of the time, which is a good bet to me. So, but Rashad Bateman, kind of like an up and down career here in Baltimore so far. First joined the team, he's hurt. He finally plays. He looks like a chain mover. Looks like a guy who can create separation, get some yak. Gets hurt again, comes back again. He has a big game. I think it was against the Dolphins, big touchdown. That's probably the best play of his career. That slant and go against the Dolphins. But other than that, we really haven't seen too many breakouts from Rashad Bateman. But we should. Now, when we talk about the archetype of receivers, like I was just touching on a few minutes ago, Bateman has some of the qualities I was talking about. And what I mean by that, the size. Like he's got some sneaky size on Rashad Bateman. He's pretty tall. I want to say he's about 6'2", 6'3", which ain't bad for a wide receiver. So he has some little height to him. His frame is not the biggest, so he's not going to like body guys or anything like that. But his route running is crisp. He's got some nice hands. So he can be. He still has so much potential to me. He still has so much potential. I just have not seen. I haven't seen it come to fruition yet, man. And I don't know if it's the fact that Lamar Jackson just doesn't trust him enough and wants to really connect with him, or if Todd Monken is not drawing up the plays for him, or what. But Rashad Bateman is like a sleeping giant in this offense, if you ask me. Like, why can't we get this guy more involved? Why can't we get this guy in space a little bit more and see what he can do after the catch? Because we've seen what he can do after the catch. He's the same way. He's like the receiver version of Isaiah Likely. Catch the ball. He's got some sure hands most of the time. Can make the first guy miss. He's got some speed on him. Likely can do all that. Rashad Bateman can do all that, but better, even faster, because he's a wide receiver. So what's wrong with Bateman? What's wrong with Bateman? He's got talent. Yeah, he's got the talent. He's got the talent, man. I just think that we got to be more intentional about using him. Spread him out. Get him the ball in space the same way we try to get Zay Flowers the ball in space. I'm sure it probably makes Rashad Bateman sick to see all those balls go to Zay Flowers when it's like, damn, if I caught that same pass, I could do the exact same thing. Switch it up. Keep defenses on their heels. You got to make defenses respect all these guys. Coming into the season, we were like, oh, yeah, Ravens probably have a top 3, top 5 receiving core in the league right now. If we said that same shit right now, other folks would laugh at us. Fans of other teams would laugh. And they were damn near laughing over the summer because they knew that they had to see it to believe it. Oh, it's going to be an explosive passing game. Oh, 6,000 yards, Lamar. Let's see it. And so far, we've seen about 2,000 yards from Lamar, right? Only, 4 touchdowns, 3 or 4 touchdowns between Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham Jr., and Zay Flowers. I think it's 4 touchdowns. Rookie Jordan Addison has more touchdowns than all 3 of those guys combined. Let's let that sink in. This passing game, there is something to be said about this passing game and why it can never really seem to break the chains and break through to where it needs to. It's so fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating to me. Let me see. He torched Miami a few times when he was healthy. Sutton, are you sold on Harbaugh? Because I'm not sold on Harbaugh. This is a good question. I think that John Harbaugh is a really good coach. But the problem is really good can only get you so far in this league when you have some great coaches, when you have an Andy Reid lurking around. You know what I mean? Like guys like that, you kind of have to look at and compare your own coaches to and say, hey, do we think that our guy is capable of getting it done how this guy does it? And to be honest with you, I don't know if Harbs has got it anymore. So I guess I'm gonna have to say no. I'm not sold on John Harbaugh because I'm one of the ones who's been saying if the Ravens do not make a deep playoff run, and by deep playoff run I mean AFC Championship or bust, right? If the Ravens do not make the AFC Championship this season, there's an issue, and Harbaugh needs to be looked at very, very closely by owner Steve Bisciotti. He needs to be looked at very, very closely because we cannot keep settling. We cannot continue to settle for good. That's what the Cowboys do. All right, I don't want to go 28 years without a Super Bowl because we're just okay with being good enough. That's what the Steelers have been doing for the past decade. They've just been good enough, especially since, Ben Roethlisberger left. They've just been good. I don't want that for my team. I don't want that for my team. Would I like one of these young, cutting edge coaches to come and, be head coach of the Ravens? I would. I would. I would. I think that younger coaches, they bring a different philosophy that new age players can relate to a lot more, and they feel just kind of more connected. If you watch the Hard Knocks with the Miami Dolphins, you can see Mike McDaniel connecting with his players on a deeper level than, say, like a Bill Belichick would. Someone who's old school, hard nosed, tough. You're just gonna do what I say, and that's how we're gonna win football games. No, that's not how people work nowadays. It's just even football players have gotten more sensitive as compared to how they used to be. You know what I mean? These kids are not receptive to the same style of coaching that they used to be. So, when I look at the Mike McDaniels and the Kyle Shanahans and the Sean McVays around the league, I do get a little jealous because I would love to see a new regime of coaching staff, in the Ravens front office. And yeah, it's a philosophy thing for me. It's a philosophical thing. Football philosophy is very important within an organization. And I think that the younger guys just kind of bring out the best in the younger guys, which is all the guys that play football, young guys. So, you see, Bieniemy would be better. Bieniemy head coach. Yeah, I don't know about that one either, man. I don't know about that one either. I mean, I like Eric Bieniemy. I do. I want to see him continue to work in Washington with Sam Howell, who I think is actually a really good quarterback. I want to see them develop. I want to see Ron Rivera gone, and I want to see them get a new head coach too. But I don't know about Eric Bieniemy for the Ravens, so to say. Let me see. No, Sutton, think if don't win the Super Bowl this year, bro, John Harbaugh needs to go. So you're saying Super Bowl or bust? I mean, with a weakened AFC, so the AFC as it stands in Week 13 is nowhere near as strong as it was in the preseason. In the preseason, everybody was looking at the AFC like it was just some absolute fucking gauntlet that you would have to go through. Like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. They were very reluctant to mention Lamar Jackson's name. I do not forget that. I will not forget that. Preseason, they weren't really trying to talk about Lamar Jackson as being one of the threats, one of the big threats in the AFC. At least a lot of the national sports media was not doing that, right? So, but now the AFC seems to have gotten to a place where it's a little bit more even playing field with the NFC. You know, Josh Allen and the Bills are 6-6, right? They're 10th place in the AFC, right? If the playoffs started right now, they wouldn't even make it. Burrow's done for the season. You know, if we're going to talk about it within our division some more, Deshaun Watson's out for the season. Browns probably not going to hit on anything, even with that good defense. You know, Steelers, don't really expect them to do much, but they might make the playoffs, right? Don't really expect them to do much, though. They're just kind of getting by. Who else? Chargers are butt. They had the same amount of wins as the Giants. So the AFC, you're really looking at, and even you look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs have not been flying high. They're 8-3. Yes, they're nipping at our heels for the number one seed in the AFC, but the Chiefs have not been flying high. That offense has not been great, especially not in the second half. Especially not in the second half. Their defense has been dragging them along, you know. So now the AFC is at a point where it's not quite as revered as it was going into the season. So the Ravens have a legit chance. So MDT Sports, I think that you make a pretty decent point saying that, yeah, maybe it is Super Bowl or bust. And I'll say like a Super Bowl appearance at the very least, right? A Super Bowl appearance at the very least or bust. I can agree with that. I can get behind that because there's just not as much competition in the AFC as it is right now, as it is compared to in the preseason. So I can get that. I can get behind that. I like that. Preseason, I would have said, yeah, let's just get to the conference championship. If we can do that, cool. This year, it's like I don't see any teams in the AFC. Of course, I mean, the Jaguars are still floating around there, too. They're pretty good. Dolphins will probably make the playoffs, but I like the Ravens against any of those teams, including the Chiefs. So there's really no excuses, guys. Really no excuses. Let's see. The passing game goes stagnant with Monken. Passing routes are still not right. All that separation those receivers had in the end zone last night. Yeah, Tanja. Thank you for joining, Tanja, by the way. Yeah, I mean, the hope is that this offense is still gelling, right? Seems like Odell Beckham Jr. is hitting his stride, which is good. Want to continue to see him get his catches, build his confidence, because we're going to need him in the playoffs as well. But yeah, I mean, the offense, man, it's just got to be better. It's got to be more, how do I say? It's got to be more explosive. We got to be more explosive, man. Less, 6, 7, 8 play, 9 play drives that end in, field goals or punts because we got taken out of field goal range because of a penalty. Like, no, we need home run plays. Like, that's why that Keaton Mitchell run, those big touchdown runs that he had, those were just so refreshing. So refreshing because when you get home run plays like that, and then you know that the defense that you're about to put on the field is going to stop the other team from scoring right back on you, man, you can't lose that way. You literally can't lose, but it's when you hold the ball, all game, and I get time of possession is very important. I love for us to lean on teams, but when we're not scoring, we can hold the ball all we want. But when we play against these teams that have a high-powered offense and they score like rapidly, muy rápido, that's a little bit of my Spanish there, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to beat these teams. It's going to be very tough. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I'm at the gym now, so I'm going to go ahead and get off. Love you guys. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you like the video as well. I'm going to be doing this at least once or twice a week. It'll definitely be on Mondays after football, Monday mornings. I'm not sure if I'll do Friday evenings, but I just decided I wanted to get some things off my chest this Friday evening. So here I am. But again, Rain Gang, love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And yeah, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Be safe and subscribe if you're new. I'd appreciate that. And like we always say, stay positive, test negative. And even on the rainiest days like today, don't forget to call God. It's your boy Sutton Def. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.